Do you remember that movie Field of Dreams? Do you remember the famous line, if you build it, they will come? Well, unfortunately, in the corporate communications world, we often think if we just get the platform up there for social communications within the firewall, they will come. Well, that's not always the case. The trick is, how do you get people to come? How do you get people to collaborate? Well, today I'm with Matt Morse from PointBridge Consulting, and you deal with this very issue. How do you get people to collaborate using social platforms within the firewall?
I think there are a lot of different ways to answer that question, and I think that the answer, as you would expect from a consultant, is it depends. Right? It depends a lot on the culture of the organization, but we see some very specific things. One is that, as you mentioned, social collaboration doesn't just happen. It's got to happen within the context of a plan, and so one of the things that we talk to our clients about is, what kind of governance are you going to put around this? Governance gets, I think, a bad rap.
You mean like social media guidelines?
Yeah. Right. But I hate to use the word governance, but it's the one that gets thrown around a lot. We use the word governance in the context of evangelism. Who's going to carry the flag and say, this is going to be a platform that's going to be a viable way for us to communicate, to share ideas, to recognize each other, etc. Coming out of that, I think you look for the leaders in your organization to lead by example. So engaging executives to say, we've invested in this social platform. Now we need you to go and recognize some employees, share resources, answer questions when people have them. When people realize that it's a safe place for them to be able to engage and that it's a way to maybe get leadership ears, that can do wonders for the adoption of the
I'm so glad you made that point, because there's hardly a conference or a communicator that I haven't gone to or visited who makes that point, that when their CEO or one of their VPs jumped on their collaboration platform, whether it's SharePoint or something else, everything started to happen at that point.
You know, it's interesting, you and I have talked about what some of the obstacles are to social adoption, but one of those is fear. And on the kind of user side, it's fear of looking stupid, fear of getting in trouble, of being in the social space, etc. And the executive leadership, leading by example, showing yourself vulnerable in that kind of environment, makes it safe for everyone to engage.
I would think that the fear of getting into trouble is a big one. Yeah. Can I really leave this critical comment on this SharePoint platform and not get disciplined for it?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm working with a client right now where we're actually going through the process of kind of seeding their communities. And one of the things that we've suggested to them is the pilot group of executives, let's have some discourse. Let's show some disagreement and show some, in a civil fashion, right? But people will come from different perspectives. But show that this is a venue that it's safe to be able to do this, because that's the kind of behavior that we want other people to exhibit when they come in as well.
And that's critical. I would think equally critical is sharing bad news on the platform. We always tell our customers that once you share bad news and you're open and transparent about it, people will be surprised. They'll actually be delighted in a way.
Yeah, I think that our experience is that it's not so much the news that makes people upset, but the way that it's communicated, right? If it comes from a back room that's smoke-filled and, you know, was
exactly
done in a way that nobody kind of saw the process, but if it comes out of a transparent environment where people are willing to engage with questions and help understand what the process was at arriving at a decision, people are pretty receptive to bad news.
Now, if you have a very conservative culture, and somehow or another the corporate communicator convinces management to try this social thing, how do you work with that culture to open it up?
I think one of the best ways that we've seen is to simply try it. And maybe that sounds a little disingenuous, but I think organizations that perceive their culture to be very conservative may find that because employees are using this type of technology in their personal lives on a day-to-day basis, they're using Facebook, they're connected on LinkedIn, maybe they have a Twitter account, that the adoption inside the organization is not as hard as they thought it was going to be. So that's one of the things, is that, you know, even kind of the culturally conservative organizations can try it in a limited fashion and kind of see how it goes.
And they can be surprised.
Yeah, I think so. And also, you know, I think there's recognition that not every organization is going to look the same. Not every organization is going to be the Googles of the world, you know, but even sort of the old guard hierarchical button-down kind of cultures can still benefit from having a collaborative platform that's based on social.
Well, thank you for coming today. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Mark.